It's the opening night and they're lighting the lights. The orchestra is tuning to make sure they sound right. It's time to start our show tonight.
Hi, I'm Stephen C. Buchwald. I'm a senior lecturer in the acting program here at LIPA and currently directing the second year public performance production of American Snapshots. American Snapshots is in combination in repertory with two one-act plays by Pinter, and we're doing them on alternate nights starting on the 18th of May for 1 week only.
So we're doing a rep season show where we're having two different productions, two different shows in one venue. So there's 4 designers, we're just 2 of them representing the Pinter night, and we've designed a space and set that works for both shows, allowing the set to be adaptable but also work for everything.
So we've got to come up with this idea of this some modular wall that will work for all the shows, and then we just change it with lighting, furniture and props, obviously the costume, the actors, to swap between the different plays that we're performing.
Our night is the two one-act plays by Harold Pinter, and then the other night there are 8 plays, but in American Snapshots. So they're kind of almost like the set sort of looks a bit like snapshots of action and space. So we kind of wanted it to be, to say, adaptable and a lot of space and action for them to move around. We've also worked with different colour and making it this sort of tone that we can then light in different aspects as well. As you can see behind us, we're sort of starting to make it already. This element here is actually part of the wall here that we use in different ways in different nights, but this is actually, for one of the Pinter nights, a secret hidden door that kind of moves, if we can move it like this.
And a lot of the boxes have got different lighting elements and different props we put on them, and we light like specific boxes, specific areas of the wall to represent different props that need to be used for a certain night. So for some of the plays you might only light a small area off the wall and sort of black out the rest of it.
So we're using the model, which is a 1:25 scale. We put it under light, so we wanted to see what it might look like in the space.
So we just try and replicate sort of states we're going to do with the lighting, so we're doing the lighting design as well. So it becomes a lot easier for us to play with the states and play with different moods and feelings within the lighting. And then we just move the furniture around to make more model furniture, and then pick out different areas we were saying of the set.
Especially with like the 2 different plays, we've got one that's going to have a lot more warm and evening feel, like, whereas this one we're making it more abstract, especially at the end where I showed you the door, like there's going to be like light coming through the end, so we're just trying to explain it with images that way. It's been challenging in terms of making sure that everyone's happy with it, especially the 2 directors, making sure that it works for everyone.
Yeah, there's lots of challenges with like getting the build done on time. Obviously working with 2 directors is quite difficult because they've both got different ideas to what they want to do for it. So it's trying to get like a middle ground to work with that.
I think ours is was probably easier to know what to find to begin with.
Yeah.
They're quite solid locations, one set in a restaurant and one set in someone's very expensive apartment. So it was easy to know what we needed in terms of layout and how it to look. Whereas the American Snapshots were a bit harder to work out in logistics. So once we knew what we wanted to do, it was up to the others to.
Yeah, I think that's hard just having the 8 plays. They had a lot more locations to find, and some of their plays go through a few different locations, whereas ours is one's in the restaurant and one's in the flat, and they don't move out those areas.
I hope that it plays a part for the script that doesn't do too much, but it works in its way for each part, and something they might not expect. So elements of the wall will be light boxes, and elements of the bulb. So hopefully they won't expect what they'll see. It will become something special within such a small space that we've got.
Basically, we are a team of 4 designers, and we've all been kind of creating this sort of environment that all of the different plays, it's like 10 different plays that happen over the space of 2 nights, and we have to create an environment that can adapt to each different play. So basically, they're all set in contemporary, well, 8 of them are set in contemporary America, and 2 of them are set in London, and they're basically like the American ones are the ones that I'm focusing on at the moment. I've kind of been given 4 to focus with costume and for props and set and stuff. So one's set in a diner, one's set in like 10 different locations, and it snaps really quickly, and it's like very like kind of heightened reality. And then the other one is set inside like a restaurant for actors. And the other one's kind of set like in sort of southern states of America. So it's like we've had to keep the set really neutral and like kind of make sure that it can kind of adapt to whatever. And we're basically using light in order to kind of like pick out certain parts of the set in accordance to what we want to show. So yeah, this is the first contemporary show I've ever done. But we've kind of done a lot of sourcing and a lot of like finding things and altering them to fit and trying to make sure they really fit. Like, it's more about characterization through their clothing rather than kind of like designing big extravagant costumes. A few bits are set inside a diner, so I've watched quite a few films and stuff that like involved diners, because I've never actually been to a diner before. So, but luckily one of our team members is like American, so she can kind of give me a few pointers like here and there, like what is like good and what's not quite accurate. It's quite tricky because like they're all different seasons as well, so trying to find all the costumes that like match whatever season. Like if you're trying to find winter clothes and we're coming into summer, there's just nothing in shops, so you kind of a lot of like online shopping and a lot of like charity shopping, that thing. So yeah, it's pretty. I think the struggles is the fact that we've been doing all 3, so like there's been 4 of us doing all 3, like lighting, set and costume, and that's really been like the trying to balance those 3 things all together is the challenging part. But I don't know, I think the hardest one is Dégâts ce soir, because that's basically they've got 2 characters in that change into 6 different characters basically, so they have to like take a hat off, put a new hat on and that kind of thing, and they have to change from being like a donut worker to a homeless man to a security guard to like a newspaper seller, so like all of these things like really, and they've got like 2-second, 3-second changes like the whole way through. So that's been really the toughest one, trying to like make sure I've got enough like time and like easy enough costumes to get on and off to kind of make sure it adapts to that. So, yeah.
Cool. I know you're going to hope there's like some kind of 90-year-old American in the audience who is liking it here and there.
That's I'm more worried about there being any Americans in there, because realistically, like a lot of this has been sourced from the UK, so it's kind of like trying to, obviously they don't have things like New Look or Primark or things like that, so trying to make sure things don't look too kind of strictly UK and a bit more sort of like generic American really. To be honest, like I've never had to work in like a big team where it's been all of our ideas before, so it's been really nice being able to collaborate, and like I think you get a lot out of the fact that people push your ideas more, and like you kind of start with something and then someone else will take it on and be like and develop it, and that's like how we've ended up with quite a bit more of an extravagant set and costumes than we originally imagined. But it's kind of that's been the bit I've enjoyed most, the design process. And also I enjoy like working under pressure, so it's kind of like this part is always really exciting to me. But I'm just excited for show week really, just like getting it all on and getting good to
it. Each week we bring you all of the latest film news.
From interviews with filmmakers and actors, to local events, to the the new cinema releases.
Join us every Tuesday evening on Bay TV Liverpool.
You're holding down the lid. Even in spite of you holding down the lid, there's moments when the water just leaks out of the top of the pot. Brendan Burns, who's currently head of acting, and I conferred toward the end of last year. And we wanted to change direction a little bit with the second year productions and giving more opportunities for students to perform, number one. Number two, also giving them an opportunity to work on a repertory style production, because very often when they get out there in the real world, maybe their first job very often is with a touring company or somebody who does rep or whatever, small scale type of stuff. And we wanted to give them some experience in that kind of theater. And we came up with the idea of doing one-act plays because they're self-contained. They have a journey, though shorter than obviously a full-length play, but nonetheless a good journey for character, and giving everybody a good go at the character that they're playing. So we combine half of our second years working with the Pinter pieces, Celebration and Party Time. And the students that I've got right now, about 18 of them, are doing very short one-act plays, 6 of them in the first act and 2 in the second act. And they're from a variety of authors. Some of them are comic, some of them are serious, some of them are quite fantastical. So there's a wide variety of different types of plays.
Look, now that you've done some really good work with the acting in terms of the interaction, in terms of the thought process, all of that there, I still see a 20-year-old guy. Okay. So we still need to deal with transformational physicality.
Yeah.
Okay? It's still too Jimmy.
Okay.
And not enough Maestro.
Alright, I've been sitting like this basically a lot.
Yeah. Is that what you naturally do?
No, it's not what I naturally do here.
That's fine. That one element is fine. But I'm talking about your posture. I'm talking about your spine.
Yeah,
okay?
standing
Remember, I've still got you in a tuxedo in this, don't we? Or what is he wearing?
They've changed it, I think.
It's a tuxedo or a suit?
They've changed it now.
Maybe bring in a suit jacket.
Yeah.
All right, maybe it's, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, I need to have more of a sense of formality with you.
It's going well. This is a transition period for the second years. As I say to them, the first year and a half that they've been here at LIPA, they are students. When they get to this project, the transition that hopefully they're making is moving from being students to being professional actors. And of course that also includes the kind of behavior patterns that they show, their dedication to the work on a professional scale, coming in prepared for rehearsal, kind of upping their game, so to speak, when they get to this phase, and preparing them also for their season of public performance plays in the third year next year, where they're pretty much preparing characters independently and know exactly what to do, as I tell them, from soup to nuts. So they know what to do with a script the minute they get handed it, and they know what to do in the process to go through in preparing a character until they open the show on opening night.
So the first thing I want to do is get to the point where you're leaving for the first time and the transition into I was being a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay? And then carry on with that, because there are a couple of moments in there where I need to have those greater shifts at the end, but nonetheless it's there. And I think that she's constantly in a state of explosion and then recovery and then realizing what she's done, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but you need those moments to transition from one thing to the other, and they need to be sharper, okay? And I need you, Jimmy, to pick up on.
But I would say overall it's been a very, very good experience. There's not been that much drama really. Students are learning to come in prepared in a way that they haven't before, and that's shown some good results. In fact, unfortunately, you missed the rehearsal we just had with one of the one acts called The Trio. And the 2 students who were the main characters in it came in utterly prepared, and it was quite gratifying to see the changes that they had made in their interaction with each other on stage, much much more interesting, much clearer than the work that they were doing a week ago.
You missed an entrance in the second movement.
Seriously, what was not right?
My dear, I am being serious.
Don't you, my dear me, not about this. I'll be your dear later, your muse, your whatever, unless you have other plans. You do. You have other plans. Well then, some other night.
Jacobson is in from London.
Which rehearsal was coming next? What's next?
The next one, they're coming back with the trio. I think I finish up with them, and then what have I got? I think I've got Degas C'est Moi, which is a piece by David Ives. And it's a very bizarre piece about a man who wakes up one morning and decides he doesn't want to live his mundane life anymore. So he decides to live for the day being Degas, the famous Impressionist painter. And he treats the world as if he was Degas for a day. And it's both comic and, surprisingly at the end, rather poignant at the end. You know, as he comes to terms with, you know, all these years having taken his wife for granted and realizing that actually there's beauty there in his wife that he's forgotten about. You know, as a painter would look at her, so to speak.
Who needs him?
Well, it's the first, we've had Steve's directing our show, this show, and we've had him. He's been our acting coach for things like Meisner and for our scene study, transformational scene study, in which we do a scene which is the complete opposite of our physicality and our vocal quality, and we just completely transform. So in transformational scene, I done Frankenstein with a guy called Joseph. He played the creature and I played Victor Frankenstein. So it's completely different, something that we wouldn't necessarily be casting when we graduate here. So that was interesting. So we had Steve for those two. So he's very much been we've never had him as a director. So to have him as a director has been very good. He's a teacher director, as he's a teacher here. So he's a very clever guy, and he has taught us a lot in terms of stagecraft, and because the performance space that we're using is not front on. It's not like how me and you are sitting now. It's in an L shape, basically. So to work around that has been very interesting, because I think theatres now have a kind of turning away from that one-on-one kind of performance now, and it's like an L shape or in a round theatre and stuff. It's more intimate, the theatres like that. So I've learned a lot through Steve. He's a very good director as well.
As a journey as an actress, what have you learned from this experience?
The importance of working really, really hard, because you never know what little things might happen along the way that mean you can't rehearse as much as you wanted to and things like that. So yeah, get the work in as much as you can, as fast as you can, and have fun. These have been really fun characters to play. Yeah. Well, the overall show is about life and the arts, so hopefully it's something like anyone can relate to. So yeah, hopefully they're moved by it. There's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of sadness. Yeah, I think to be moved by it, which is what you want from all theatre, well, most theatre, yeah.
So I kind of want the audience to react to moments where they don't know whether to laugh or not laugh. I think that's what will interest me most. What bits they'll laugh at and what bits that they won't. But as long as we're quick and our tempo rhythms are fine, and we constantly stimulate the audience, and there's no reason why it won't be an enjoyable show for them all.
Well, I mean, number one, I hope they're utterly entertained. It's going to be a long night, I have to say, with trying to fit in good shows for the number of students that we have. Requires a little bit, how shall we say, we have to be a bit flexible in terms of our running time for the show. But saying that, I think it's going to be a massively enjoyable evening. I think that there's some of the pieces I've already seen that are incredibly moving to watch. There are other pieces that have the tremendous potential to be absolutely hysterically funny. There's one piece we have called The Lives of the Great Waitresses, where we elevate waitressing to an art form, and some of the lines are just to die for. And I think the audience will be very entertained. But it's also meant to be thought-provoking. I don't choose material that's just entertaining. I hope people go away and kind of thinking about their own lives in relationship to the characters that they've seen. And I think there's opportunity for that in all the plays here.
It's a lovely place. I love it.